Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and today I decided to make a guide for the new vehicle, the Tank Destroyer, since this vehicle spawns on pretty much every capture point on the new Armored Kill maps for Conquest, and since you're going to find it all over the new Tank Superiority game mode, I figured that since you guys are probably going to be, spending some time in this bad boy, it would be helpful to know which attachments are appropriate, which ones I think are best for it, and overall, just so you guys have a better understanding of this vehicle. So I'm going to kind of go into detail on each of the different slots, which ones I recommend, and hopefully this will be useful. So first off, we're going to be taking a look at the weapons for the Tank Destroyer, and more specifically, we're going to start off with the HE cannons, and the high explosive cannons are exclusive to the Tank Destroyer. You cannot use them on any other vehicle, and really the only difference between this unlock and your normal shell is that it has a larger blast radius, so it's going to be a lot more effective at taking out infantry units. I found this to be very useful on sections of the map on Armored Kill where you know there's going to be a lot of infantry foot traffic, such as the beachfront property on Bandar Desert. You can really use the high explosive radius to take out infantry units that are inside of buildings or around corners where normally a canister shell wouldn't be effective, or even the minimal splash damage of your normal shell really wouldn't get the job done. The high explosive cannons in those situations really outperforms all of the other attachments. It does have a downside though. If you do shoot this at an enemy vehicle, it's going to do around 16% less damage, but really if you are shooting this at another tank, you're kind of doing it wrong, because you can switch between this and your normal cannon shells. So really, if I know there's going to be an enemy infantry nearby, I'll switch to this, take them out quickly, and if I see an enemy vehicle rolling down the street, I'll switch to my normal shells and take it out. You really can pick and choose between which ones you want to use, and in my opinion, this is actually one of the stronger attachments for the new vehicle. The next unlock that we're going to be looking at is the tow missile, and if you're looking for more of a challenge or something that requires a little bit more skill when you're playing in a vehicle, then this might be right up your alley. If you're unaware of what the tow is, it essentially is a wire-guided missile that you literally manually guide towards your enemy target. You can do loop-de-loops, you can veer it off to the right, the left, wherever you want it to go, but as long as it hits the enemy vehicle, it is going to do a lot of damage. I really enjoy using this unlock on the Tank Superiority game mode. If I'm able to flank my enemy, catch them unaware, or even if they know I'm there, if I'm able to hit my tow missile and then straight in with my normal shell, and it is either a normal tank, a battle tank, or a tank destroyer itself, it is going to drop very quickly. Like I said, it does require a lot more skill than if you were going to use something like the guided shell, but if you are consistent with lining them up, you are going to destroy the enemy team, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it, especially on the Tank Superiority game mode. Speaking of the guided shells, if you're looking for something a little bit more consistent and you just don't want to bother with the tow missile, which is completely understandable, then the guided shells is a perfect attachment for the Tank Destroyer. It works the same way as the main battle tank's guided shells does. You've used it hundreds of times on the vanilla maps or on the back to Karkin maps. It's going to lock on to ground vehicles or air vehicles as long as they are painted by a SOFLAM. I'm not going to go too much more into detail on this. You've used it hundreds of times before. It's a very effective attachment both on the main battle tanks and especially on the new Tank Destroyer. So those are the weapons that I found to be most useful on this vehicle. Of course, if those don't appeal to you, you can always switch on over to the canister shell to be more effective and take out those infantry units that are out in the open, or use the LMG. It's really going to be all up to personal preference, but I honestly found that the HE cannon, the tow, and the guided shells were the best weapons on the Tank Destroyer. For the next slot, I found that smoke was by far the most useful unlock. I mean, really, I don't think I need to go into detail as to why, but if you're unaware, it's going to make sure that enemy tanks or javelins can't lock onto you and quickly take you out. I mean, overall, I just found it to be the most useful. If the enemy isn't locking onto you very often, you can always use the zoom optics. It's going to make you a little bit more effective at those tank battles or those standoffs on Tank Superiority, where both sides are just kind of trying to pelt people from across the map. Overall, though, I did not like the zoom optics on the Tank Destroyer. It just didn't feel like it was all that effective, and I got a lot more use out of the smoke. Another one that you can try out, and something that was introduced in the Armored Kill DLC, is the new extinguisher. And once again, I still feel like the smoke attachment is going to be a better unlock for you in pretty much every engagement. But there are some situations where the extinguisher will save your life. An example of this is if you are duking it out against an enemy tank, you both have whittled yourselves down all the way to the disable limit. One more shot apiece is going to kill, either one of you. If you use your extinguisher in that engagement, they only have smoke. You're going to rocket all the way back out of the disable limit, and that final shell from them is only going to disable you, and your final shell is going to take them out. So that sounds awesome, and you would think that, why wouldn't you want to use this over the smoke? Well, all that being said, the extinguisher's reload time is very slow, like extremely slow. I was actually surprised at how slow it is for it to reload. So while it does do very well in those particular situations, I more often than not got way more use out of smoke. So if I would try it out, give it a shot, but in most situations you're going to get a lot more out of the smoke unlock. Moving on to the final slot for the tank destroyer, really I only recommend using reactive armor. It works the same way as if you were in a battle tank, so if someone shoots a rocket at you, it's going to absorb that shot, and really you can just take more enemy fire, and really you cannot go wrong with that in the new vehicle, especially since the tank destroyer is a light armor vehicle. It's not going to be able to take as many shots, so having that one extra buffer is really important, especially on tank superiority, where literally every single shot is going to make the difference between life and death. But if you were just starting out and you don't have reactive armor just yet, then I would recommend using autoloader. That's what I used throughout my tank destroyer days until I did get that final unlock. And really, it's going to allow you to win more tank fights out there. You're getting more shots in your enemy faster, and if they're not using it and you are probably going to win that engagement just as long as you're hitting every shot. So if you don't have the reactive armor yet, then I would use autoloader, but if you do, of course, use reactive armor. But really, those are all the unlocks that I recommend for the tank destroyer. It's going to be up to you which ones you want to mix and match on the battlefield or how the battle progresses. If you know there's going to be a lot of infantry combat, then you can always switch on over to the HE cannon or the canister shells. Or if you're really not getting locked on that often, then the extinguisher might be a good bet. But that's about it for my tank destroyer guide. I hope you guys enjoyed or maybe learned a couple of things. If you guys enjoyed the video or just want to support my channel, I always appreciate it when you give my videos a rating, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.